complicated. I'm going to reveal the real secret reason your conversations with women fall flat and why women just don't respond to you like they do the other guys. It's not what you think. And as weird as this sounds, I'm going to show you how you can make small talk sexy in a way that sneakily goes in even under the most guarded woman's radar, ignites her wild and flirtatious side, has her craving your attention, and leaves her wondering why she feels such an intense chemistry and attraction towards you. In fact, even though this might seem impossible now, after you watch this video, people who know you will be shocked and secretly envious at the transformation you go through almost overnight. How the boring guy they used to know has vanished and suddenly you have girls fighting for your affection. How even girls that had previously been cold or indifferent to you seem to be hanging on your every word, making excuses to keep talking to you. How women you thought were out of your league are now flirting with you, handing you her number, and practically begging you to kiss her. And how even a girl who has placed you in the friend zone will find herself imagining the two of you naked, ripping your clothes off, even following you into the bathroom to give you a blowjob. Yes, it's happened to me more than once. I'm going to teach you the secret in just a second. The same stuff that has men around the world refer to me as the evil genius who cracked the code to attracting women. But before I get to that, I want to expose a gigantic myth of the smooth talker that's keeping you from meeting hot women right now. So what's the giant myth keeping you from bringing hot, horny women back to your bedroom and has you stuck in the acquaintance zone? Yes, that's worse than the friend zone. The big myth is the idea that you need to be born with an extremely outgoing or alpha personality in order to get women flirting with you, that you need to be some type of smooth talking salesman, and that you have to be the most interesting man in the world, tell her dozens of entertaining stories, or brag about imaginary ex-girlfriends and a high-paying job in order to turn her on and make her want you. As a dating coach who's helped thousands of men, I can promise you that sparking a playful, flirtatious, and even sexually charged conversation has almost nothing to do with any of those things. That knack for talking in a way that sparks irresistible chemistry and ignites a woman's sex drive is not some special gift that a guy was born with. And it doesn't require you live a rock star lifestyle. It only takes one subtle shift to the words that come out of your mouth. I know that may sound strange, so let me explain. If you're like I used to be, your conversations with women probably follow a variation of this very depressing pattern. You hesitate, or even secretly avoid talking to a girl because you don't know what to say and you're worried things will get awkward, boring, or downright humiliating. A few minutes into talking to her, your mind seems to shut down. And as you have this internal panic attack scurrying for something cool or witty to say, you begin second-guessing every word that comes out of your mouth. Just to keep the conversation going, you begin asking lame, boring, interview-style questions, and you begin to feel like the two of you are in an interrogation room. And because you have no idea how to get a conversation past a friendly level, you have no clue when or how to begin flirting with a girl, and worst of all, you have no clue if you're making any progress with her, if she has any sexual interest in you, or if she's just talking to you to be nice. And then you can see it in her eyes. She desperately wants to be saved from the awkwardness. And when she finally walks away, you're even a little relieved. So the big question is, how do you go from point A, which is starting the conversation, to point B, which is getting her attracted enough to give you her number, set up a date, and get her back to your bedroom? How do you do this without running out of things to say, reverting to the same old boring questions, or getting stuck in a platonic level that ends with the dreaded words, "You're really nice, but I'd rather just be friends"? And an even bigger question is, why do some guys have a magic ability to always know exactly what to say to have girls looking at them with absolute lust and following them back to their bedroom night after night, while the rest of us have conversations that more closely resemble a train wreck than they do a seduction? And what can you do to flip the same passion switch that these guys so easily bring out of a woman? Hint, it doesn't require changing who you are, memorizing lines, or miraculously becoming a super outgoing bad boy, and it has nothing to do with your looks or how much money you make. To answer those questions, I need to reveal a few simple truths about chemistry no one has told you before, and show you how to jumpstart the spark that floods a woman's brain with uncontrollable sexual desire. Fact: women are emotional creatures. They make their decision almost 100% based on what they feel, which happens to be the complete opposite of us men who are logic-based. Our brain is naturally hardwired to try to impress women by being interesting, finding things in common, and displaying how cool we are. Which is why we become preoccupied by what she thinks of us, and makes talking to a woman a heck of a lot more hard than it has to be. But a woman doesn't even know what cool is. Men are fascinated with James Bond, not women. Nor do women care how much you have in common. Telling her how much you love the Twilight series is not going to wet her panties or make her swoon. And a woman could easily end a conversation with you thinking you were the most interesting man in the world without one sexual thought about you ever crossing her mind. Women don't choose men based on a mental checklist. If you ever fell into the friend zone with a girl you thought you were perfect for, you probably already figured this out. Remember, women base their decisions 100% on their emotions. When a woman decides that you're the guy she wants to let ravish her body, slide her panties off, and treat her like the bad girl she longs to be, I can pretty much guarantee it was not some logical decision she made based on weighing your pros and cons. It was an emotional reaction she had to being around you. This means you don't have to become the world's best conversationalist to turn women on. And in fact, a lot of times really smart, interesting, or super talkative guys do horrible with women. Women repeatedly and without hesitation throw themselves physically, emotionally, and romantically at the men who push these 3 emotional hot buttons. So what are the 3 emotions that she's practically powerless against? In order to get a woman to become overwhelmed with attraction towards you and make herself available to you in every possible way, she needs to feel 3 specific emotions when she's around you. And no, none of them involve thinking he's a really nice guy. I like to think of it as the triangle of temptation. First, she needs to have enough fun around you to break down her bitch shield and allow herself to unleash her flirtatious side. I call it taking her back to the playground and eliciting that carefree attitude she hides away from the rest of the world. Believe me, it's yearning to come out, and giving her that feeling of being out on the playground with her schoolyard crush. When a woman's lost in that childlike bliss, you have her in the palm of your hand and she's ready, willing, and waiting for whatever comes next. This also creates the it just happened vibe that all women crave when meeting a guy. Second, you need to bond with her in a way that has her imagining spending time with you in the future and feeling an emotional connection that goes beyond a casual flirtation. And third, you need to flat out get her sexually excited. You need to short circuit her rational side and awaken that little tigress that wants to pounce all over you. Trust me, every girl has a little tigress and are desperately waiting for permission to pounce. So how do you do all that? You don't do it by having deep philosophical conversations with her, and you definitely don't do it by swapping stories about your jobs or naming all the bands you both like. Nope, as unlikely as it sounds, the best way to get out of the interrogation room and completely bypass the friend zone and skip right to the point where she feels undeniably intense chemistry with you is to make small talk sexy. Yup, the reason some guys are always surrounded by girls, have girls constantly calling and texting them, and even when they walk into a room where they don't know anyone, within minutes they have a girl in front of them smiling, giggling, and touching them like they're longtime lovers, while the rest of us can't break through her bitch shield, and even when she acts nice to us, she has that faraway look in her eyes like she'd rather be talking to somebody else, is because these guys have figured out it's not your ability to spend hours talking about interesting things with a woman that turns her on. It's knowing how to spin any conversation, no matter what you're talking about, into something that's fun, flirtatious, and sexy, that has women excited to be around you. Now, if you're like most guys, you might be thinking, small talk? Aren't we supposed to avoid small talk? Isn't that something reserved for talking to our hairdresser or the random old lady we meet in the elevator? Yeah, that's what I used to think too. Then I actually began paying attention to what these natural seducers were actually saying to women. I noticed they were using a playful type of small talk that had women's eyes lighting up and grinning ear to ear. And you can see an almost instant transformation as her entire personality became more affectionate, flirtatious, and openly sexual. And the weirdest part was that even though these guys communicated on what appeared to be a superficial level, on the surface everything they said just seemed light and playful, women would experience such an intense connection that they'd be almost desperate to see these guys again. Plain and simple, and as weird as it sounds, switching into this type of sexy small talk during your conversations with women can have a drastic and shocking impact on your sex life. And it'll give you an entirely new level of confidence in any type of social situation. Why does it work so well? Because you're immediately engaging her emotions. This sort of short circuits her brain and gives her the impression that she's known you forever, also known as chemistry. And most importantly, it draws out her fun, sexy, and flirtatious side. Allowing this fun, flirtatious, and sexy side of herself out feels really, really good, and she associates those good feelings to you. Because most guys engage her in a logical, boring, safe manner, she's usually forced to hide this flirtatious and sexy side of herself. So when she comes across a guy who gets it, she'll do just about anything to keep him around, including getting very sexual very quickly. Nail this, the triangle of temptation, and she's having fun with you, feels an emotional connection, and begins getting sexually turned on. This will form an attachment to you in her mind and produce an urge to make you her boyfriend, give you her body, and please you in every possible way. And all without having to suffer through long, boring conversations where you have no clue what to say next, without having to pretend to be someone you're not, and without having to feel like a used car salesman every time you talk to women. Okay, Bobby, I get it. I can see how this sexy small talk is more effective than long, boring conversations about safe topics, but how do I actually do it? Glad you asked, because I've got a really good answer for you. Like I said, my name is Bobby Rio, and for the past few years, I've developed a reputation as the go-to guy for learning how to talk in a way that captures a woman's attention, has you stand out from the crowd, and makes it easy to escalate things to a more physical level. But this definitely did not come naturally to me. In fact, before I figured this out, I basically operated in two modes of conversation. Mode 1, elevator conversation. In this mode, I turned into a shy, boring dork who could barely muster up hello, and everything I said came out weak, timid, and had women feeling sorry for me. Or I'd go into mode 2, which I call gay friend conversation. In this mode, I was so hungry for her to like me that my balls would slide back up my ass, and I turned into a smiling, head-nodding tampon who acted like his only job was to agree with her and make her feel safe and non-threatened. This is the mode that nice guys fall into way too often. Now, I may have been a shy, boring, scrotumless dork, but I was definitely not an idiot. And only a complete idiot would keep doing what he was doing and expect a different result.